Good day, nerds, and welcome to episode 39 of the Nerd Cantina Show. There are some weeks that have a ton of news, and this is one of them. We've got Kevin Feige dominating some of the entertainment talk, and we'll cover his new role in the Star Wars universe, as well as bringing Spider-Man back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're going to cover the fall TV guide. We're going to go over some of the new fall shows that just premiered last week, and then some upcoming shows that should be on your radar. We've got some details around the Xbox Cloud gaming service that's going into beta this month. And then we've got some tech news that we will discuss with the big SpaceX announcement and their Starship platform, as well as some new robots available to you by Boston Dynamics. Big show. Let's get to it.
Calling back all nerds. Nerds!
All right, and welcome to episode 39 of the Nerd Cantina Show. And Steve, I don't know about you, but I had a pretty good week.
Yeah, your week was definitely better than my week. And this was my birthday. God damn it! What the fuck?
Yeah, that's true. So happy birthday to you.
I went to Star Wars Galaxy Edge.
Yeah, so I finally made the trip up to Star Wars Galaxy Edge. The wife and kids went a couple weeks ago, and I was super jealous and played a little bit of hooky. Took a half day up there. It doesn't disappoint. Now the ride, the Smuggler's Run ride, I think is trash. It's just not a good ride. It's like fake interactive. They call it an interactive ride. Depending on what role you're playing, really all you're doing is just smashing buttons on the wall while you watch the screen, and you really don't care what the buttons are doing. And the game doesn't care what the buttons are doing either, because in the end, whether you do nothing at all, you're still going to finish the
the video
quest.
game version of that tractor ride that's on the rails where you feel like you can turn left, but it's like, no, motherfucker, you're going right. Yeah,
it's really a kind of a lame ride in the sense that they've got some other like Disney theme park interactive rides that are, like legit. You're competing and you're shooting stuff, and what you do is like matters, and you can target stuff. And they're like, when you're the gunner, you're just literally just mashing buttons, and it just shoots lasers predeterminedly on the screen. It doesn't. Yeah, you control, I guess, the timing of the lasers, but you don't aim them. You don't do anything as the gunner. It's kind of lame. Like, no, if I'm the gunner, I want to be sitting there with crosshairs and shooting shit.
Well, I'm assuming they do that for the 4-year-old Chewie fan that wants to be in there gunning.
Yeah, but nobody cares about those fans. You made Star Wars Galaxy Edge. This is not for the 4-year-old Chewie fan.
This is this said by the father of 2 kids under the age of 7.
Yeah, they've got the rest of the park. We got Little Mermaid over here. We got Toy Story over there. Like, they're fine.
Let me fucking have my moment.
So the ride sucks, and they still don't have the other rides. The next ride won't be out. The Resistance ride will be made until it's made, but it won't be open until January, February. But the park itself, it really doesn't disappoint. Like, it has everything that a nerd who wants to feel. If you want to feel like you are walking into, more so than a movie set, because a movie set is just a small piece. Like, this is a large area, and they have it designed to a point that, like, there's no straight lines. Like, you can't just really look down a street to see. So it makes it feel like it's way bigger because you're constantly turning corners. You're constantly zigzagging through and going upstairs and going around. Like, they've designed it in a really smart way that makes it feel even bigger than it is, and it's pretty big on its own.
How was the cantina?
So, yeah, made it into the cantina without a reservation, which was just by sheer luck that I walked up to a really nice cast member. Talked to him for a second, asked about reservations. He's like, "Oh, yeah, what's your name?" I was like, "Ken." He's like, "Oh, yeah, you have a reservation for how many?" 4. Okay, right now. Go get in line. So it was really kind of cool. I got to go in there, and we got to have some drinks, have some adult drinks. It's the only place in Disneyland that you can get alcoholic beverages. So definitely
they serve alcohol in there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's a full-on canteen. Like, it's all hard liquor drinks.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, and they do weird stuff. Like, we had it was almost like a margarita type drink, whatever else, with this foam.
After walking an entire park with the kids all day, I don't care what it is. Like, I'll take, man,
But yeah, it was cool. They had some kids drinks too. We got them some Bantha milk, some of the blue milk with
probably one of the only bars in the world right now that's not serving White Claw.
But no, yeah, the park itself is great, and the kids love it. Like, we spent probably 6 hours there.
Well, like
just
your
in that
kids
part alone.
aren't like big Star Wars kids either, but
They've never seen anything with Star Wars.
Yeah, so but do they still like really enjoy the?
So they still love it because they've got an app. Disney's got an app, so if you ever go, you want to download the Play app and the Disney Play app, and you walk through there, and it turns your phone into a data pad, and you can go in there and you will walk around. All the signs are in Star Wars language, but then you can use the app to scan the signs, and it'll translate it and tell you what it is.
Oh, that's pretty.
So
dope.
they even have like secret areas where there's just Star Wars writing, hidden in a corner of certain areas that are in like handwritten. And you can scan those, and it's like graffiti from the Resistance, and it'll tell you to go ask for somebody else. Then you go ask a cast member to talk to whoever that person is, cool. And they'll tell you the backstory of who that person is and how they're like. And then you could choose different jobs there, and they got crates all over the place. You can use the app to scan crates, and then it'll tell you what's in there. And you're searching for droid pieces or whatever else because that's the job you signed up for. So the kids just love running around, scanning stuff, talking to cast members, talking to people, translating every sign. Like I don't know how much time I stood just standing next to the same sign for 5 minutes while the kids are typing in
weird
Star Wars lettering and stuff.
So now those that aren't privy to our personal family information, my brother is the self-proclaimed most frugal person on the planet. So this is something he will gladly admit. So did you at least walk by the lightsaber construction place? Because I know for a fact you didn't fucking come home with one.
Nope, not. I don't need a $200 glow stick. I'm okay with, I'm okay with just sticking some chem lights in a toilet paper tube and
didn't even try to get a kyber crystal and just build it in pieces over the next 5 years of you taking the kids there.
So to get where you see like the YouTube videos, or you see people who are, they're having like the reveal and they turn on their lightsaber for the first time, and then those custom builds, you can only get in there if you pay for that experience. I did go to the place where you could buy pre-made, like the replica lightsabers, the ones that are like still $250 to buy those lightsabers, and
if you're going to drop over 200, you build that fucker yourself.
Yeah, you just go build it. You go get the experience. So we did go through and see some of those, like the memorabilia and the stuff that you can buy there at Galaxy's Edge is pretty impressive.
Is it quality?
And then, it really is. You're definitely not picking that stuff up outside of Disneyland. And then we went to the droid workshop. And that place is cool. Both my kids, that's probably their birthday presents, is we're going to go back to Disney for their birthday. And they're
both my kids left there crying because I did not let them come home with one.
You don't get $100 toy when it's not your birthday. Like that is birthday only. You want to yeah, that's it.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. I don't get freebies in my house. You earn that by being 1 year older. That's it.
I would have yanked a fucking tooth right out there on the spot if I was one of your kids.
What's that going to get them? That's going to give them 75 cents. They're not
shit!
They're not even getting a bill.
They don't even get a buck.
Fairy.
They don't even get a buck. They're getting silver pieces.
Again, expectation management is key to happiness. So the kids know to expect.
If they don't ever expect
less.
shit,
then they're happy. They're happy without it.
No, yeah, I was really jealous when you told me you were going up there. Yeah, I'm just glad though, like at least one of us got to kind of go in person. We've talked about it a little bit on the show as it was coming out. We did let everyone know we're fucking waiting. We're not going in that 4-hour queue time. Did they still kick you out after 4 hours,
Nope.
or you got free roam?
No, the only thing that's still timed is the cantina. You can only spend 45 minutes in the cantina. It's a pretty small place, and they're trying to.
So there's a bunch of strung out adults just taking shots of. Well, you're trying to get as many.
You can only
drinks.
have 2 drinks too. No, you can only have 2 drinks per person.
2 drink maximum.
Yeah. So it's
there's these strung out dads walking from table to table. Are you going to use both yours? Are you going to use both yours?
Like I said, it doesn't disappoint. If you're you love rides, the ride sucks, and don't be too upset about that. But enjoying just the kind of the
I think the overall it's about the overall experience for most people right now. They'll improve the rides. They have more rides coming. The park,
and download the app. Like, even if you're an adult, it's still kind of cool to go walking around scanning these things, finding like secret messages and talking to people about it and whatever else. And then Kylo Ren's walking around all day. There's stormtroopers all over the place and harassing guests or whatever, trying to interrogate people about being. Yeah, it's cool.
That'd be the only time someone could shove me in the back when I'm not looking, and I'll be like, all right. I'll take it. But no, all right, well, that was cool. Like, it's
cool.
So if any of our fans are out there have gotten to go to Galaxy's Edge, participate in the conversation at thenerdcantina.com or in our close Facebook group. Let us know what your experience was like. Or if you're planning a family trip this winter, I know us being in Chicago, we like to try to get the fuck out of here around February. So if you're like us and you're waiting for that winter Disney trip, take a listen, take some notes, and let us know how that went too.
Yeah, so keeping in Star Wars talk, we've got new news in Star Wars, and that's that it's been officially announced that Kevin Feige is now joining the Star Wars team and will be producing a Star Wars movie. Who knows what it's going to be? There's rumors whether it's going to be Episode 10 and they're going to start continuing the kind of the movie saga. Or is it going to be just some spin-off that's along the Star Wars universe?
At this point, I'm pretty sure they held Kevin Feige down in the boardroom and tattooed a Goofy on his ass with the amount of, of Disney products he's going to be helming now.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that I've heard about in the past, and then since this article came out, I did some... Kevin Feige is a ridiculous Star Wars nerd. And I don't know if you've ever... paid attention, but he's got interviews. If you go on YouTube, you can find interviews of him and stuff where he's going through like his special Star Wars collection and everything. This guy is hands down a huge Star Wars nerd. So how
they not bring him on to how do they own Star Wars for the last 6 years and have him doing every Marvel movie and just like dangling it here over on the side to him, buddy? Like, hey, make us a few more Billy and maybe we'll let you come play in this sandbox too. And he's just like drooling over droids and I just want to just put my name on it. Just want my name on it.
And I think he's busy, right? And doing the Marvel, rolling on Marvel was big enough. I still wonder, man, how is this guy going to balance?
So truly,
keeping the
I wonder
how
how
these things?
Busy he actually is. So executive producers have 10, 12, 20 other producers
going on at once
under their wing. I don't know how much he's involved in the daily. He's the one going to the board meetings, the folk, like the grand scheme of where everything's going to go. But you can't assume that he's just on set every day in the minutia, double checking boom cranes and craft services and shit like that. Like, I have to imagine that he's the overall one, that he's driving in his Maserati and he gets a phone call. It's not like being on set every day. So I'm pretty sure that he can take on the loads that they're giving him, especially in the...
So I think in the MCU, he is quite involved as far as filming, as far like everything that gets run through. He maintains the continuity of all the little Easter eggs and stuff, and like he authorizes them. It's not, things don't happen.
But like I said, that's a
direction.
Phone call or a 2-hour meeting. That's not a 12-hour night shoot that he's sitting at.
Yeah. I don't really know. I still think just even the press circuits that he does for Marvel, that Marvel's going to continue pumping out 3 or 4 movies a year, and he's still going to support every one of those releases, all of the press.
Yeah, I'm not saying dude doesn't work hard at all. Like, I'm not saying dude isn't under some pressure and doesn't work hard at all, but I'm pretty sure that in order to put Star Wars under his belt, he could take 24 more phone calls and 5 more meetings a week.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, it's really interesting to see. He's as important to current cinema as really any director or whatever else. The direction that he's taking these big franchises and maintaining these long story arcs. So it's interesting to see him come to Star Wars, and he's a super fan, so hopefully he does it justice in the sense that, he's being a super fan. Like if you put him in a corner and you asked him what he thought about about the last one, he's going to tell you that it's fucking trash. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to right the ship.
Well, and since you said justice too, let's just hope that the social awareness bug doesn't come and bite Star Wars in the ass too. This is like our one franchise left that doesn't really kind of remind you of the real world we live in every day. Like I'm hoping we just kind of keep with the theme of outer space is outer space. This is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away before all this kind of gobbledygook. So I'm hoping we don't get a giant message pushed to us in the next Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, hopefully not. But it is a to me a positive. I'd like to see what he does with it, whether that ends up being episode 10 or one of the spinoffs. And then maybe this is the start of him taking over overall kind of thematic direction. As you got the Mandalorians, you're gonna have a million spinoffs, a million things taking place in the Star Wars universe. Somebody has to.
Yeah, I think that's why they kind of brought him in, is that he has obviously a great overall vision. Like this is one of the people in Hollywood that can see 7 years down the line and how to subtly intertwine these movies together to keep a good continuity in a universe. So I'm hoping that
and Star Wars is
the same.
No, you probably know better than I do, but Star Wars is a little difficult in the sense of canon, where the comics are comics. The comics does whatever they want, but even like Star Wars comics, whatever else, it all is treated as canon. It's all
they
plays
reset
together.
the canon when Disney bought it.
Yeah.
So there was fuck man, I don't even know how many books and stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of fan fiction books.
Oh yeah,
and they weren't necessarily linked together.
Boba had to climb out of the Sarlacc because everybody wanted to not dude be a punk bitch that he is. So write me a book making dude not a goddamn scrub. Thank God that's not canon anymore, but for sure they're probably going to redo it again. Like I wouldn't doubt if we get a Boba homage in the next Skywalker film or something like that. Like but yeah, when Disney bought it, they kind of reset the canon. They said what does count, what doesn't count. The comics came out after that, so all of the comic issues are actual canon. Some of these books that have came out afterwards are canon. I'm pretty sure anything that has come out post acquisition is canon.
And as I say, that poses even bigger challenges than what Marvel's doing, because Marvel has their cinematic universe, which is its completely own kind of direction. The comics is not canon; it doesn't feed into the movies. They could do whatever they want on the comics, but in the Star Wars, they're trying to maintain it as one singular storyline and universe. So it does take somebody who really has to oversee the entire program. As it gets more and more in depth, you're going to have more and more theatrical and TV series type things coming out. So Kevin Feige might be the right guy to do that, as long as he doesn't just forget about Marvel.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point too, we're not sure where Marvel's going with the next phase. So they might not need Feige as much. Maybe they're not trying to do as intertwined as they did before, how everything kind of funneled into the Avengers movies. There's not another Avengers movie on schedule.
Oh, they're still gonna get that itch to bring in Endgame money again and break records again.
Well, yeah, but now they have to worry about bringing in mutants. They have to worry about bringing in the Fantastic Four. They have a lot of other things to worry about than just bringing all these movies back into an Avengers title. So I don't know if their goal is going to be bringing everything into one movie. It might be bringing this section of these movies into the final Fantastic Four, major movie, that reboot, so maybe a few of these other titles lead into Fantastic Four, and then a few of the other titles, like, Guardians or whatever, lead into more of an X-Men kind of movie, and they kind of split the two major, the instead of doing everything funneling into one, they funnel half of them into two. Who knows where they're going with it?
Who knows?
Maybe they're going to give Feige a break. Maybe it's time for somebody else to have a different vision so they can get some originality.
Talk about some of those movies funneling in. That brings us, to the next major topic, and that's Spider-Man back in the MCU.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah,
and
we were all hoping. We kind of had hunches. And
everybody knew that they were still talking in the background. No deal is dead at that point in time.
Once again, we're just a giant fucking focus group. Like we're all us nerds. We're free information for the entire studio to just leverage. That's all we are. Is we're just information leverage.
This deal though it is big, and I think. That people can argue whether who won that holdout. I
think definitely we're going to argue about that right now because I would
and I still think
this
Sony
is
won.
a win for Marvel. No, this is a fucking win for Marvel.
So it is a win for both. It's definitely a win for both. But what it does is, I think the sticking points that caused Sony to walk away in the first place. It wasn't about the profit because in the end, Sony knew they were going to be profitable with or without, and it didn't that money piece, while it does always matter, in the end Sony wanted to be able to produce movies faster on a 2-year timeline. Every 2 years they want a new Spider-Man movie. And Marvel said no. Marvel didn't put Spider-Man in Phase 4. Marvel didn't plan didn't announce where they were going to put him. Limited what they could do with Spider-Man outside of the MCU. And we all knew Sony was trying to build their own Spider-Verse with Venom and everything else. So they walked away because Marvel was trying to hold all those cards.
And at the same time, I truly believe that it wasn't about money. They went in asking for 50% of the costs and 50% of the revenue, and that was the high number I think they opened their bidding with. I think I think
it was realistic. It was 30%. I think it was what they were asking for, or something close to that.
I think the final that's rumored to be settled at 25% of the costs, 25% of the total gross. I think that's kind of what they were aiming for because no production costs and only 5% of first day was absolute bullshit. So the fact that they got this deal, I think, is huge for them. It solves a problem of them being able to use one of their cherished characters and get a reasonably fair cut of the profits to be in the universe. So I do think it's a win for both.
The reason why I think it's a bigger win for Sony is the fact that they maintain the control of the franchise. Even in Kevin Feige's announcement, his press release, he had stated that Spider-Man is the only superhero with the powers to span 2 cinematic universes. And he's addressing the fact that Spider-Man will have his role in the MCU, at least one more independent movie and at least one more team-up movie where Spider-Man is featured in another Marvel Universe movie.
Well, they're most likely going to bring him in the Venom. They're probably going to bring him in the Venom movie, and basically Disney, which is a rightful concern, is like, look, we're doing this character justice, and we're doing really well with this character. When you guys use him, like, just don't fuck him up. Like, just don't fuck them up. Don't.
Yeah, and there's some of that, but like I said, I Sony, and not to mention the release date of July 16th or 26th of 2021. This is right in the middle of Phase 4, right? Sony won. Sony has always said that they wanted every 2 years a new Spider-Man movie. They wanted and then alternating year a Venom. They already have Jared Leto playing Morbius, and they're doing a Morbius movie, which will lead into the Sinister Six. They've already got plans for every 2 years having something in the Spider-Verse. And Marvel wasn't having it. And now you see Sony wins, right? Now all of a sudden, jammed into that Phase 4 calendar.
Well, I think a lot of that had to do with no financial incentive to rush movies like that. If they had no financial incentive to push out a movie every 2 years like that, why are they going to take on a workload that might make their other properties suffer a little bit for minimal profits? Now that they have a greater stake in the success of a Spider-Man movie, I don't think they have a problem pushing them out every 2 years like Sony wants.
Maybe I think they wouldn't do it without Sony kind of putting the pressure. I don't think you get the Spider-Man 3 coming out in 2 years. And then the fact that I really think Marvel at first was saying, hey, you can't take my MCU Spider-Man and put him in your Sony bullshit, your Venom and whatever else. And I think that was a big sticking point. And now Sony has the ability, the negotiated ability to still have Spider-Man in the MCU and then still bring him into the Spider-Verse, which is all going to be loosely attached. I'm sure they can't mention Iron Man. I'm sure they can't mention any other stuff.
But we'll see what role like Feige or Disney plays at all in the Sony properties. So
nothing.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I still think that, in a boardroom somewhere they were like, look, we'll let you guys read the script. We'll let you guys have an opinion. We're not contractually obligated to use that opinion, but if they don't at least like say, what do you guys think about this? And then they're like, well, we're doing this, and that might not work so well, and fans might be upset. They might want to take some fucking words of advice.
Yeah.
So
some people are putting out rumors that maybe Sony is coming to the agreement that, hey, they can have a piece of Spider-Man, like, hey, maybe MCU can maintain and they can segment it off somehow that Miles Morales then plays in MCU, and he's the Spider-Man they get, and the Peter Parker Spider-Man stays purely Sony, and then after this deal or whatever else, they just kind of split. You get
which would probably be the best scenario for both parties. Like, look, we're just gonna fight every time the contract's up. We're just gonna fight about who the fuck gets Peter Parker, blah blah blah. Yeah, if they let MCU take a Miles Morales and they keep a Peter Parker, that would probably be the best case scenario. Probably not.
Yeah, when I heard that, I thought that would actually be pretty cool. But yeah, that's purely, I think, fan fiction and people making up rumors, and I'm all for it. So let's get that into the MCU.
Well, sticking with a little bit of entertainment news, we're in the fall. Everybody knows this is usually the big TV ramp up season. A lot of shows started their first episode of the season. Some new premieres, some shows picking up in their second, third season. And I watched as many as I could this week in hopes of finding some of these new gems that are going to be interesting. I don't think Ken watched any at all, although I did send him a list of TV shows. I watched Emergence last night. Okay.
Because it was the only one that seemed somewhat interesting to my wife.
Yeah, no, that one. So the first one we'll go over, I guess, is Emergence then. Emergence is on Tuesday nights, I'm pretty sure. So it'll be, we record this Monday morning.
It's on streaming services.
It's on tomorrow on ABC. And it's one of those cryptic shows, it like a lot of, ever since Lost came out, you find television networks are trying to recreate that, like, what is going on with this show, like, kind of pilot episodes. And this is another one of those. Plane goes down on the beach. Cop comes in and tries to investigate. There's no sign of anybody. There's a weird government agencies that are coming to check it out, and a little girl appears out of nowhere. She takes the little girl and to the police station to do her cop thing, and you just get this barrage of really weird things happening. Undercover, like I said, government agencies, people posing as government agencies trying to reclaim this girl. Yeah, it's one of those, is it aliens? Is it government testing? Is it, you don't know what's going on. So far, episode 1 seems interesting. I'm willing to give it a 5-6 episode try.
Yeah, I'll give it another go. The premise is interesting enough. I think for a pilot episode, they did a pretty good job with like the characters. I think the acting was actually really good. Where a lot of it's kind of dry.
It's got my man Donald Faison in there, man.
It does.
It's got my man Donald Faison.
I was super surprised when he came in. I knew nothing about the show, so I was really surprised when he walked on the scene. And then the lead actress, whatever, I guess I like her attitude. I like the way she kind of acts.
She comes off pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's It's got some promise. I don't know. I don't tie into new shows. I only watch it because you recommended it. Otherwise, I don't watch these hopeful shows. I'll let those people with rabbit ears give them ratings and see if they survive. And if they survive it to Netflix on a full season, I'm in.
See,
but
these are
I don't
the
bother
shows
with
that
these
scare me
shows
because I've been sucked into a few of these shows that get 1 or 2 seasons, really start getting ramped up, and they lose their audience, and then I'm just stuck with a cliff, like the OA. The OA just ended after season 2, left off on a huge cliffhanger. Where are they going with this? And then TV people are just like, oh, did you care about these people? They're fake, and we don't give a shit about them, so we're just going to throw them in the trash. And as a fan, you're just left like, oh.
Yeah. I don't do weekly shows all that often just for that reason. I'm not trying to start a new show, start to fall in love with some show, or just waste my time and end up not getting to the end of it. So that one, I might watch a couple more kind of weekly and see if it hangs out. The rest of them, I don't think I'm going to get into, but I'll let you go through.
Yeah. So bear with me. We try to prep for these shows as much as we can. But I do not pull up the IMDb's for any of these shows, so I am not going to remember actors' names whatsoever from this point on.
Nobody cares anyway.
So you can do your due diligence if you care that much. But the next one that I enjoyed and I'm probably going to keep up with too is that Prodigal Son. It's in kind of like the true crime genre. It's about the son of a serial killer who turns into an FBI profiler himself. And the first episode is about a copycat killer that is mimicking his dad's serial profile, and that's how he gets drawn into the New York Police Department's kind of like catching, and it's the main actors are really, really good. The kid, I want to say I've seen this guy in like 1 or 2 things. He plays like this manic, just his mind's in a million places. You can tell it throughout the whole episode, but it comes off really good. And the dad serial killer is a famous actor that I am drawing a complete blank on right now, and whatever else he's been in and what his name is. But when you see, you're like, oh, that's that dude. That's the dude. Okay. But yeah, so far the show I think is really well. If you're a true crime fan, if you're a fan of shows like Mindhunter and things like that, this seems like it's going to be a network version of those shows, and I think it'll probably do well so far.
If I was to pick one of the fall shows to start and try, it would have been that one. It looks good, and like I said, we'll see if it makes it through a full season.
Another one I watched was Bluff City Law. That's got was it Jimmy Smits? Am I thinking of the right dude? I think Jimmy Smits. That's yeah. So he plays another. It's like another. I guess this is a recurring theme. Father-daughter lawyer team now. They have a family falling out. She becomes a corporate lawyer. He's a defense lawyer. Then the mom dies, and she has like a calling to pick up where her mom left off and help her dad become this defense lawyer and class action lawyer. And it's just, it's about family dynamics, about law. I mean, LA law with a family dynamic, I guess you could say. It's basically it. There's other lawyers in it. It follows the law firm, so you get more than one case in an episode, but there's a bunch of underlying carryover plots and things like that. This one is kind of like, man, I don't know. Like it wasn't bad, but I didn't get hooked first. Like, so Emergence of Prodigal Son, I'm kind of like hooked first episode, and I'm hoping these shows are good. Bluff City Law, you maybe get 3. I'll give you 2 more, and we'll see. I do like law shows. I was a Law and Order fan for a long time until they hit their 109th season. I just couldn't anymore.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks on the legal dramas. Next,
I watched Stumptown. That one was interesting. So it's got the guy from New Girl who played the chicks. He was the bartender in New Girl, and
Oh, really?
And he plays a bartender in this one, and I swear to God they use the same fucking set. Like, I swear to God they use the same set. Like, seeing him behind that bar, I'm just like, man, I've seen this show, and it was a lot funnier before. Like, it was, but and it's got the one of the chicks from How I Met Your Mother. She's actually pretty good in it. It's she plays like a private detective / bounty hunter. She's actually there's a lot of action in it, so I didn't expect that from her. She plays Maria Hill in the Avengers and doesn't really ever have to do much in there. I mean, she's done a couple like duck and rolls and maybe shoot something in the Avenger movies, but nothing to the T that she's doing in this TV show. It does have like a little bit of a comedy twinge. It does have some seriousness because she does have a drinking and gambling problem. So I'm assuming that's going to play into the show as it goes along. Another one kind of like Bluff City Law, where I'm like, all right, you get 4. Bluff City gets 3, she gets 4. Like, the rest of them I'll give 6. Like, after that, if you haven't really grabbed my attention, you're probably just going to sit in the queue. I don't know about that. And another one of my guilty pleasures, because I do have many guilty pleasure TV shows, is The Masked Singer. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm here on that one, though.
I really like it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, good music. Most of them can sing. It's got the whole "who am I" aspect to it. I'm yelling at my TV. I'm fighting with my girlfriend. I'm calling the judges morons. Like, it is definitely interesting to me. But it is a guilty pleasure. It's not one of those where I'm just like, hey, did you see Masked Singer last night?
I watched all of Masked Singer last year, at like 15 minutes a stint. Every night we'd watch like 1 or 2 performances with the kids, and it would take us a whole week to get through an episode. And then we would start the next one as we go through, because we don't watch a lot of TV with the kiddos. So Masked Singer, the kids are pumped that it's back on. They saw watching football yesterday. They saw commercials that it's back. So
I'm one
kids
for
are ready
one
for
on who it was. I guessed the egg right, and I was just off on. I think Thingamajig lost. Yeah, the Thingamajig lost. So I knew who.
How are you going to start spoiling shit already for me?
I didn't tell you who it was.
I want to know who. You told me who lost.
Oh, well, okay. I guess. So yeah, there's double spoilers that can possibly happen. I didn't realize that part. I thought it was all about who was under the mask, because they're all going to lose eventually when they're singing. But yeah, so yeah. I knew who the egg was, and I knew who I was really close to Thingamajig. I almost had it, so I was kind of pumped about that. But we got more and more shows coming out over the next couple weeks to a month. Watchmen starts at the end of October. And it looks like a lot of shit's going to be dropping in November.
Yeah, well, because you got Disney Plus and Apple TV both coming out in November. So obviously you got the Mandalorian that's going to be hitting the release with Disney Plus, and that's a big one that we're waiting for. And then you've got Apple TV starting in November. And, they got that Jason Momoa show. We talk about the blind Jason Momoa. Who knows what the hell that's going to be. And then another show that like they were promoting pretty heavy on internet and during TV commercials is this morning show with you're contagious in the fact of now we're all losing names. But
I know why Friends, I can't remember shit. Why you
whatever
can't remember
her name
shit,
is.
I don't know.
Rachel from Friends. And then Reese Witherspoon and Steve Carell are all in this morning TV show on Apple TV, which looks good. I'm not going to pay for Apple TV, so I'm not going to see it, but it looks good. And then his Dark Materials still coming out in November. So we're a month away from his Dark Materials, which looks really, really good. TV version of the Golden Compass there. And at some point in November, Netflix will come out with The Witcher. No specific date, just towards the end of November, we know it's going to come out.
Yeah, if you caught any other shows that we didn't mention, because I know there's some that slipped through the cracks and some other ones coming up. Me and Ken are both Good Place fans. First episode of Good Place came out last week. I watched that. There's a bunch of other ones. So leave us some comments, start a conversation on what you watched and what you're looking forward to, and we'll make sure to give it I'll make sure to give it a try and let you know what our opinions are on it.
Yeah, if there's not a full season available for me, I'm not watching.
Well, speaking of not full seasons available, one of them, one show that could have possibly had some promise got thrown in the trash before even production started.
Yeah, we got Ghost Rider, which was supposed to be a Hulu show, more of an adult-centered Hulu show in the Marvel universe. Canceled. Done. Ghost Rider is not making it. If you were looking forward to that, if you're a big Ghost Rider fan.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't think anybody's been able to wash the Nicolas Cage stank off that property.
Yeah, I honestly think that's probably the case.
How am I not in that movie?
So yeah, Ghost Rider's not hitting Hulu. Maybe it gets remade somewhere down the road, but as of right now, Ghost Rider's dead.
Yeah, and the Shield version of Ghost Rider, I didn't mind. I didn't think it was like anything great that they did, but when they brought Ghost Rider into the Agents of Shield show, they did about a season-long arc with him and that character, and it came off pretty well. You know, like it had some promise. You could see they needed some improvement with it, but you could see that they, if they actually gave a shit about it, they could make it into something good. So I don't know. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I stopped watching that show long ago.
I like that show. Like it is one of the better comic book TV shows, I think, on TV.
Yeah,
I do enjoy that. They got their last season coming up soon. So this will be their final season. They're gonna wrap that up and end it.
All right. Well, let's take ourselves out of entertainment news or TV news. Really, we're still in entertainment when we talk about. We got one big video game thing we wanted to talk about in the sense of Xbox's opened up the sign up for the beta testing of XCloud. So if you don't know what Xbox Project XCloud is, it's their cloud gaming service, which is supposedly purely mobile, the mobile centered. It's their attempt to allow you to turn your mobile device into a gaming platform, still running high quality games with no downloads required, nothing, just 100% off of the cloud streaming. You just press A, select a game, press A to go, and you play.
This is all coming on the heels of Stadia dropping next month.
Yeah, it's not on the heels, right? It's out in advance of. They're going to at least get some testing and maybe steal some hype from Stadia being a purely cloud gaming service. Xbox is trying to do this. They announced it in 2018, so people knew it was coming, but it was never something really prominently displayed. They did have an E3 display of this in LA for E3 this last year, but we don't really know what it's going to look like.
But now we could all be honest and just say Google is really pushing this to a forefront. You know, if Stadia succeeds, you know, we'll find out in a month and a half. You know, me and you both are founding members. I'm gonna fire it up and play some games on it and see what that be about. Because if this is the new frontier for gaming, man, we're gonna hit a really big pivot point. You know, when you can get into 4K gaming for under $150. That's really going to throw a monkey wrench in everybody else's plans, like really bad. I think they're hoping it tanks. I think they're hoping it's buggy and has its problems, and they can push out their xCloud beta, you know, work out some of the kinks with the phones and things like that. November is going to be a big month in gaming.
Yeah, and this Xbox Cloud Gaming service, it seems like it's going to work out pretty well. They're allowing people to use it on not Wi-Fi only, which to me is a big deal. The fact that they believe they're going to maintain their quality, so they're still doing these games. So the 5 games that they're releasing in this beta is Gears 5, Halo 5, Forza, Killer Instinct, and Sea of Thieves. And you're looking at Gears 5, being a 60 FPS game, and they still say they're maintaining that on the mobile platform through cloud gaming, and they're not limiting it to Wi-Fi. And you would think that they would limit it to Wi-Fi only if they felt that the games couldn't be handled on a cell network. So they're clearly testing it on a cell network because their goal is to make it to where it's purely mobile, that you can do it on a modern cell network and maintain that quality. And what they demonstrated at E3 and the early tests of it is saying that the latency is good. Like it's not quite a, if you're a super high-end Twitch gamer, you're going to notice it. But the average gamer who's just picking up these games
so
playing, they're never going to
went mobile, I downloaded it just to see what it was like and play around with it while I was working at the nightclub and killing some time while we were slow. I'd try to play some Fortnite. And to me, the lag or lack of lag or FPS quality isn't the major thing when playing on your phone. To me, it's fucking screen size. Like, so I just bought a Nintendo Switch last week. That screen is probably minimal size. I can play a mobile game on and enjoy it. Unless you have one of these iPhone X's that are double the size of the regular phones. How are you, like, these are shooters. These are fucking shooters. Yeah, how do you see these little fucking things to shoot them? I don't know if it's just my old ass and I need glasses, which is probably true, but I don't understand how you're able to enjoy these games on such a small viewing screen.
Well, what it's going to become is, because all you need to play these is you have to have a Bluetooth-enabled Xbox controller, which means since 2016, if you've bought an Xbox or a controller, you have a controller that's capable. So, and then you just have to run Android 6.0 or greater. And like any phone in the last 5 years runs Android 6.0. So it doesn't take a lot to get into it. And then, I don't know, just go buy yourself an Oculus. Hell, you can go to the dollar store and buy a cell phone mount for your face and turn it into essentially a VR screen with a controller.
I honestly didn't think about that. And if that's where we're going, oh, God, man. Just to see.
So you should get people sitting on the city buses.
Yeah. You're just going to have these kids on school buses going to school every morning wearing these Oculuses, like... Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, that was the thing is if I could see like a Forza being able to be adaptable, side scrollers or maybe RPGs, but like these shooters,
no, they went hard.
Yeah, I know.
The first Halo, 5 games they went hard.
Gears 5, like Halo. These are major shooter titles. I can't see that little tiny grunt running down the field. How far away to pop him in the head. That's tiny shit, man. And I got good eyes for almost being 40 years old. Like some of my friends are legitimately blind. I can still see shit, and I can't get with it.
Yeah, well, and you'll see. Well, and Android tablets are pretty cheap to get. So you can get a 7-inch, 8-inch screen for $150. That supposedly is going to have enough capability to run these things. So
I'm curious as if you can stream your screen to a TV and use your phone as the kind of like server medium so that you just project what's on your phone to a TV, play through your phone. So like your phone acts as the console and you can stream it to a screen somewhere or have like one of those phone projectors in your pocket and just project a screen on any wall that you want to. Like if it's got that kind of capability, okay, I see the point. Like I get it. So basically, as long as I have my phone and a controller, I can play video games anywhere, and project it to the size I need to not feel like I'm going blind.
Either way, it's cool. It's the same concept of Switch, just minus the console that needs to go with you, that everywhere you go, all the games, eventually the goal is that all the games that you own, you can just bring with you. And it's supposed to like your save data and whatever else, if you're playing a campaign game or whatever else, when you leave and you play it on your phone later, it carries over your save data. It carries over everything. Like you are playing your game.
Yeah, they announced
where you left off.
Yeah, that's a big thing with Microsoft now is the play anywhere kind of titles. Yeah. They started that, I think, 2 E3s ago, where if you buy a title, you not only get the Xbox version, but you get the PC version, and you can play on multiple forms. It picks it up. Like, that's pretty dope. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think I think the goal is that this ties into Xbox Game Pass, as Microsoft wants everybody and their mother on Xbox Game Pass. So if this is just a service already offered by something that already has pretty good value on its own, and then now you just get to toss it on your cell phone and play these games on the go or whatever else, it's just another big value add for that Game Pass subscription.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Well, let's now come out of entertainment and just talk over. We got a big tech announcement. Not real. When you're listening to this, it happened over the weekend. You've got Elon Musk having his big SpaceX announcement, all centered around his Starship platform.
Yes.
And
so we shared this article. You said you were going to dive deep into the article, so I kind of didn't check up on it. I figured you could explain it to me a little bit, and our audience could benefit from that. I know I'll instantly form an opinion once you give me information, as I always do.
Well, the main information that really came out of it is, he talks a bit about timeline, but first, it's the technology is interesting. And he goes into in depth. So if you are a big tech nerd or space nerd and you want to hear the reason why they're making this out of stainless steel instead of any type of carbon fiber or any other type of material, he goes into pretty good detail on material choice, the weight of these systems, how many rockets are going to be needed, and talking about like the challenges of production as far as, hey, rockets are really the limiting factor towards producing the Starship. But some of the big takeaways are, one, this thing's huge, and it's an absolutely massive platform for what is supposed to be now human travel to space. It is supposed to bring out passenger travel to space. Not necessarily, we're not talking about space tourism yet, although last episode we talked about the space hotels. Yeah, we talked about, space we wanted space hotels by 2025. Well, this thing actually makes it to where, hey, maybe.
What you going to do when you get out of jail?
So maybe space tourism is a legit thing when you have personnel carriers that are 100% reusable personnel carriers coming from Earth to space. Elon talks about it more in using this as personnel carriers to establish like scientific base camps on the moon and establishing scientific base camps on Mars, kind of like what you see in like Antarctica. Nobody lives there long term. It's a miserable existence, but people do it for the sake of science, and that's what he's hoping will happen on Mars.
Well, you get people that live in space stations for a year and a half. Why don't we just park their ass on the moon? I don't get it.
So that's exactly what he's trying to attempt to do through here, is that this will carry enough of a payload on Starships in order to actually sustain life for a long period of time. You could just dock it and land it on the moon, put some others like support structures on the surface of the moon, and it gives a base station for people to do.
With
scientific
SpaceX
research.
having like automated rockets that take off and land on their own and stuff, like we could just be shipping supplies to the moon like crazy. I ain't paying for it. But it's for sure possible.
And he also demonstrates, or not demonstrates, but discusses the fact that it has refueling capability. So in space refueling capability to allow it to get out to orbit, to be out in space for a period of time, to get refueled, to continue its journey to the moon or to Mars or wherever it's going to go in the future. So having that while in space, the interspace refueling capability really kind of opens up how far it can project, what it needs to carry leaving Earth's orbit, because that's obviously the toughest part, is getting that launch velocity.
I admire the initiative of like the Elons, of the Bezoses, the Branson Virgin.
Oh yeah.
Branson's been doing this for a long time too. At this point, I would love to see them, instead of competing against each other, pool their funds and create like a privatized NASA where they all share equal stakes in the company. They share their tech. Because if we're really going to do this and speed this up, I think them competing against each other actually slows this process down. To whereas if they could say that, look, we all want to land on the moon. We all want to land on Mars. We all want normal people to visit space. How about we create this corporation with the three of us as head of the board, We all split the costs. We all split the profits. But they all seem to have the same vision. So I don't know if them.
Yeah, but the competitiveness, it is good. I believe it is good for things that they're fighting over, like NASA contracts. Even NASA, before Elon's event, NASA was, I think they tweeted or in some press release mentioned that Elon needs to deliver. He's been hired to do certain things that he's missed the mark on, as far as creating these personal carriers and getting certain things to space. So they're competing for government contracts. They're competing for other things, as well as, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson talks all the time that unless we can make an economic driver for going to space, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
If it's just coming off of the good ideas of Elon and Bezos or whatever else, then it's just never going to happen. Because in the end, shareholders are going to say, "Oh, you want to spend how many billions of dollars? Oh, hundreds of billions of dollars, and what's the rate of return on that? Oh, zero. It's just to, Elon talks about spreading our consciousness around the universe, because right now Earth is the only known place of consciousness. And he talks about that like, well, that doesn't pay off to shareholders. But what does is, hey, if space tourism exists and you're creating personnel carriers that go to space to dock to space hotels, but then you use that same mechanism in order to then get people to Mars, but you're at least getting some rate of return on the technology you're developing, that's what has to happen. It's the only way we actually do it.
Without giving any spoilers, it's been now 2 weeks. Ad Astra deals with a few of these issues subtly as they're going through the story. So throughout the Bear Pit's journey to go to, so he comes into contact with space colonization multiple times in the film, and you see the downsides of not coming to a collective goal in this space colonization, that we take our petty kind of fights on Earth and just kind of expand them into the moon. So there's China's section of the moon, there's the United States sections of the moon, there's uncolonized sections of the moon that end up being fucking war zones and have all kinds of moon pirates. And it's like, so, especially after seeing that movie, you can see that, yeah, the competitiveness is driving it to a point now, but I do think as we leave the planet, we should have a goal of putting those selfish interests aside for the sake of humanity, because this is a humanitarian goal of expanding consciousness and things like that. And if profit motive is our only driver, I don't see much good coming out of it. Some good will come out of it, but not as much as we could possibly do if humanity made this a goal and said, okay, well, we're going to do this, not I'm going to do this.
Maybe, right? But I think in the end, you can't do that, right? Yes, would it be best that we all globally united in some kind of utopian idea of what space exploration is and what the purpose of it is, and is it purely scientific? Is it for, hey, consciousness, survival, to make sure that if the Earth blows up one day or something terrible happens on Earth, or we just continue to destroy Earth as we are, that our consciousness is spread throughout the universe and it lives on, right? We're never going to agree with what the purpose of these things are.
I'm just saying, man, if I have an opportunity to become a fucking space pirate before I die, you best believe, hack off a leg, give me a robot wooden peg leg and an eye patch and a mechanical parrot on my shoulder, because I'm going to be a motherfucking space pirate. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I think as far as this announcement, it's a really cool, way forward, and the speed at which Elon Musk is willing to progress this and probably needs to progress this in order to satisfy shareholders and everybody else. This Mach 1 that he showed is kind of ugly. It looks like it's pieced together in panels and all kinds of stuff, but it's testing kind of the launch and landing, and then it's going to go to Mach 2, mark up 2, 3, 4, and by the fourth iteration of this, which they want to launch it into orbit, and they're saying that they're on pace to do this in the next 6 months, to actually send this massive personnel carrier into orbit and then return it to Earth. And we'll see, maybe in the next 6 months we'll know whether, hey, you can send hundreds of people into space to actually establish a Mars or a moon space station or something else. So it's going to be proving a lot of science. And again, this is a company that is only dedicating 5% of its resources to Starship because it's not profitable. It's profitable on the Falcon Heavy systems and Falcon, that are launching satellites, and they're making money through those programs. So they're only putting 5% and still only putting 5% into Starship. They're looking at 6-month goals to be in orbit. They're trying to make engines one per day because the amount of engines they need is huge, and currently it takes like 4 or 5 days to build a single engine. And they're trying to get it down to where they're making an engine every single day from now until forever, because they want to have not just 1 or 2 of these, but they want a fleet of Starships.
And that just brings another point of like, you cannot quantify in your head the amount of money these companies hold. Like, if there's a company that can revolutionize space exploration with only 5% of its budget, like that is insane.
Yeah. It is. It's crazy to think, and I'm all for it. I'm super excited to see what can they drive as far as getting this out as fast as possible, making it a viable platform. And I want it to be a viable platform for space. It'll be cool to see people doing space tourism and stuff. And like I said, I think it's a necessary evil that we've got to have some kind of space tourism or something that allows these companies to make money. But I would love to see what kind of data comes from people living on the moon for 6 months at a time, heading out to Mars eventually. Yeah. It'll happen. I think it's definitely trending towards the fact it's going to happen in our lifetime.
It's going to happen in our lifetime. It'll for sure. This is going to be an ongoing thing. Space still fascinates tons of people. That's why we're talking about it on our show, and it'll be really interesting to see where it goes. Like I said, I just hope at some point we can put human interests not aside, but kind of like as a secondary goal, like, as opposed to.
Yeah, but you got to agree on what a human interest is. Because there's just so many people saying that's human interest as we're going to go and we're going to start drilling.
Oh, we're going to drill the moon. We're going to drill the fucking moon. Don't ever fucking doubt. Like, there are like, that is the ultimate
your idea
goal.
Of human resource. Yeah, your idea of human benefit. It might be different than the idea of, hey, we're just going to go get the next fuel source from drilling the moon.
A giant drill will be the first fucking thing they pack on that goddamn spaceship for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be like the Armageddon crew going. It's just going to be the oil drillers going to the moon.
Ben Affleck's going to crack the fucking moon in half, the dummy. Because fracking works so well on our planet.
All right. Well, we've got and then one more big tech news before we end this show here, and that was really just kind of entertaining in the sense that Boston Dynamics, you should go check out. We'll post a link to YouTube or to an article. Boston Dynamics is they're running commercials now for their robots. It's not just their normal like demonstrating weird robots doing parkour and dumb shit. They've got a commercial for their robot dog Spot.
Yeah, and they packed it in a nice little packaging. Like, the thing looks like, before you watch all these videos, it's all grayscale. All the parts are kind of like exposed and stuff like that. Like, no, they wrapped this dude in a nice shiny yellow body. Everything's like smooth and sleek looking. So the initial video that they released seems to be very construction heavy, which I could appreciate because I own my own construction company. So I instantly started picturing the usages that I would have for such a robot. I'm at the point in my business where I'm so sick and tired of carrying my tools in and out of the house that I'm willing to hire a dummy grunt for $15 an hour just to carry my tools in, because so much of my day is set up and breakdown that I lose production hours, and just having to do that. So if I could have saddlebags on this little tiny yellow dog that's going to walk up and down stairs and just drop everything off outside the van outside and have certain just a dog to hold a flashlight in the right spot.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's really where I think it's interesting is it demonstrates in the commercial some of the stuff that the robot dog does. If you've paid attention to Boston Dynamics, you've seen this dog before, and it navigates up and down stairs really easily. It walks around really easily. It can open and hold open doors, so it can open a door for you and hold it open for you as you're going. Carry tools. It's got some. I think this first version it's a bit smaller, and they're probably trying to come up with one that's smaller and has a price point that maybe a couple people can afford, and so it's only got a 30-pound weight capacity, so it's not carrying like your raw materials.
The way I look at it too is if I'm willing to hire a kid just to carry tools and be a second set of hands with like a flashlight or something like that, that kid's going to cost me anywhere from $38,000 to $45,000 a year. You have to quantify these numbers. If I get this fucking dog robot for $20,000. And it's gonna, I'm in net profit now after 6 months, and if the dog lasts me 3 to 5 years, fuck that electrical apprentice that I was gonna hire. Like this is like, the construction industry felt pretty secure from robots taking our jobs. We're not the auto industry, we're not the trucking industry, we're not the retail industry. AI and robotics really kind of didn't scare us that much because we're really far off from robots and AI being able to look at jobs and do the problem solving that we do as humans, or having the intricacies of like tiny screws and things like that with our fingers.
Non-routine, non-repetitive.
Yeah, so we're really far off with robots being able to do that stuff. So I've felt pretty secure in my job. The grunts, like, I don't know, man. Like if you were just a kid that was looking to get a construction job, sweeping the floor and stocking inventory shelves and holding flashlights and carrying tools, you might not have that opportunity come in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I know. I love these things, and I've recently listened to. So in my weekly podcast list is the Artificial Intelligence podcast by Lex Friedman, and he just last week interviewed the founder and inventor of Roomba, of the iRobot, Roomba. And he talks about he spent all this time developing robots and never thought that his way in was going to be a fucking vacuum cleaner.
Man,
be the biggest vacuum.
I've always doubted those fucking Roombas. I've always been skeptical of those fucking Roombas. I went to a job probably 2-3 months ago. Yeah. Dude had 3 of them in his house, and he fucking swore by them. He's like, I just bought one. Oh well, hold on, folks. If Ken bought a robot, you were gonna get every dollar's worth out of this fucker, because if he bought it, goddamn it, went through a gauntlet of testing and reviews
and anxiety
before he spent $1 on that motherfucker. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, so we bought one during like Black Friday sales, and we were waiting for a couple months to buy one when the price was right, and we picked one up for the price we wanted to, and I mean they are useful, and they're good. They're
congratulations for Roomba for hitting that price point.
Yeah. and they're getting better
itself.
But he talks about, all these things, just increasing the sensors, increasing the optical capability of these things. There's a lot that's going into them, and as they get smarter and smarter, they can navigate our world.
He's like it never gets in my way. It docks itself. He's like, my floors are always clean. Like he said this thing is phenomenal. I was like,
the Roomba team's got a self-driving lawnmower coming out here in the next year. I think that's gonna be same idea of the Roomba. It's just gonna go around your yard, just clipping your grass,
man.
Just looking for long grass, and it's done.
Man,
I'm all for it.
I am about
I hate
that
fucking
life.
lawnmower.
I hate mowing my fucking lawn. I hate it.
So the podcast with him or whatever else, where they talk, and he talks about Boston Dynamics. He talks about these things, and some of the challenges are just them navigating our environment and having enough sensors and stuff. Well, it looks like Boston Dynamics is leading edge of this stuff, and Boston Dynamics has never sold a product before. Like, they don't make money; they just develop shit. And now maybe they're going to start actually making money and start selling products that benefit
a
industries.
big place for visionaries and venture capitalists. So a lot of these people do have vision of investing millions of dollars now and not getting a return for 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, knowing that if they're the ones who break this, that they'll get their money back and then some, and revolutionize, change the world essentially. Because I think the consumer aspect of this is just the tip of the iceberg, because once they get the consumers behind it, once you get government military contracts, guaranteed military contracts, so if this little fucker is going to be carrying my tools, it's going to be carrying bombs and ammunition for our soldiers.
That has been happening for years. So this Boston Dynamics robot, the 4-legged robot that they're now trying to sell to construction workers to have a 30-pound payload. They've already had ones that are being tested currently by the military that are called the mechanical mules that are carrying a platoon's worth of water and food and resupplies and stuff, and walking side by side on patrols with platoons in testing, not in combat currently, but in testing.
But this is the future.
So these things, but absolutely, it is going to be a part of it, as well as AI-driven like exoskeletons. People are going to be wearing suits that are smart enough to identify where we need to apply power and to
and increase human land speed by like 5-10 miles per hour.
Yeah, and weight bearing capacity. Like these things are going to happen in the military for sure. As well as military obviously being pretty reliant on man controlled drones, but having uncontrolled droning capabilities and different systems that are easy to be used by low trained individuals. All that stuff's a big part of where things are going, and with
emphasis
these
on low trained.
Seriously, well, that's the only way it's sustainable in places like the military. Is it has to be accessible by people who have only a couple months of training. Because the military cycle, you're going to only have people for a couple of years. You have to constantly be able to train new people and have them do the skills. You're not going to have people who are experts in that field for 30 years.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. The fact that they are even marketing it now to consumers is a huge step in their progression. The commercial looks great, it's like it really got me like, oh shit, I'm still afraid to look at the price. I don't even want to know, but
although I'd buy one of those before I'd get a real fucking dog for my kids.
Oh, for sure.
Hands down.
For sure. Send that fucker out to carry. I think I can carry a lot of groceries in one trip. That motherfucker is going to be the one trip king.
Yeah. No, I will wrap that thing in fucking shag carpeting so my kids could pet it and shit. I don't fucking care. I will not have a dog in my house again, but I'll buy that thing. I'll buy Spot.
Yeah, no, the yellow body it had on it, really, if DeWalt isn't thinking of major marketing programs right now. Milwaukee right now is just going, make a black and red one. Make a black and red one. But yeah, it's really kind of cool that we're getting to this day and age where, we are going to live in a society surrounded by automation. There's a few people in our society right now giving off the warning signs and talking about how this is going to affect our society. I suggest people start doing some research on these people, because it's coming whether you like it or not. There's a lot of people out there that are letting you know that it's robots and AI that are going to revolutionize the job markets, the U.S. economy, things like that. So you're going to want to be in the know of these things and see the wave coming, see how that's going to affect your life, if it's going to affect your job, if it's going to affect your family. These are all major concerns. You don't want to just wake up one day and realize they're shutting down your packing facility because we just bought 100 robots. They replaced 2,000 of you fucks. So go home. We don't need you anymore. We talked recently on the show about the Walmart robots. I watched that show Superstore. Superstore just came back with their first episode of the season, and that's what it was. It was Cloud9 unveiling their first like janitor robot, and it had the same name as the former manager Glenn. So it was all Glenn versus Glenn, like whole episode. And by the end of the episode, yeah, they dropped that motherfucker off the roof because it's gonna take your job, man. It's gonna take your job.
Yeah, I mean, there's always big societal impacts for a lot of these things that we just find entertaining and discuss. And yeah, we are all for people just keeping their eyes open and seeing where these things come from. Again, even if you don't think that these robots are going to take away your job, is it going to take away a lot of jobs in your community? Because if it does, then those jobs go away, and then home values crash, and then school districts lack funding, and then you're begging the government to step in to try to normalize your poor situation.
And we
like
know
what you see in places
how
like Detroit
quick the government reacts to problems at hand. So yeah, it's one of those things that, again, we try not to be political on a show. We try to leave that aside. But this is going to affect our society. There's only a few politicians that are even aware of these things. If you watched any of the Facebook hearings, you can see how inept our government is at the current state of technology right now. So for them to be addressing the problems on the forefront when it comes to AI, what essentially will be cyborg technology with these exosuits and things like that, and these stocking robots and cleaner robots. We need to, as a society, to start having these conversations to kind of press our government to kind of be aware of where this leads to, some of the downfalls, some of the benefits. I'm not going to say that it's going to be all bad. We as a society can benefit greatly from having these things in our lives, but there is going to be a downside. We are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, and this is going to be the big one.
Yeah, well, I think we'll leave it at that. We've went a little longer than our normal show today, but there was a lot to cover.
Yeah, a lot to cover
in this week's news. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully you found it entertaining. And if any of these topics strung a chord on you, and you want to engage and talk more about it, join us at thenerdcantina.com/community, which will take you to our closed Facebook group where we continue as many of these conversations as we can with the group as a whole.
We also put these podcasts in post form on our website at thenerdcantina.com, where you can leave comments. We do have a forum page. So wherever you feel comfortable leaving your opinion, the voicemail line, just hit us up. We want to know your opinion. We want everybody to be a part of this conversation. As you may notice, this week we will not be running our usual Podcoin ad. So for those not in the know with Podcoin, they were not sustainable and went out of business. So we're one podcast player down. It was really the only podcast player that benefited content creators like us in any way, shape, or form. So it is kind of sad for us to see them go. Our friends at the Super Media Brothers did a RIP Podcoin episode. Me and Ken contributed to that episode, so we encourage you guys to go check out their Dark Borders and Death Valley episode. You'll hear a very comedic send off from us and a bunch of our fellow podcasters on that episode. So go check them out. That's Super Media Brothers,
and we'll have the link for that on in our show notes at thenerdcantina.com/show39. Well, with all that said, thanks again for listening, and hope you join us again next week.
Yeah, see you again, nerds.